When I was 16, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word, that I was pretty dumb. I mean, I got my driver's license and I thought for sure your boy was going to end up with the biggest, baddest truck on the road. I'm talking diesel, 6-inch lift, 35-inch mud tires, 4 miles a gallon, whatever it is in front of me, I didn't care. I was going over it type of truck. Well, not having a whole lot of money for myself, it didn't take my mom very long to smack me back down to reality, and I ended up with a 1991 Toyota Corolla. Sure, it got me everywhere I needed to go. Work, friends' houses, my chess club practice, parkour practice, the library, so I could take place in my Dungeons and Dragons tournaments, the barber shop, magic camp, jazz dance classes, I mean, countless places. This thing took me everywhere. It was super reliable. It was perfect for me at the time, and after a while, I loved that car. Sure, it wasn't the sexiest thing on the road. I get that, but it was perfect for the value. And so are some of these wide receivers in the middle rounds. Are they the sexy car we want, or the value car we need? What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. And today, talking about a couple mid-round wide receivers that maybe they are that sexy car, right? And maybe we do have a chance to get them. Maybe we don't need them. Maybe they're overpriced and we need a little bit more value. Got a few names we're going to be talking about here today, so make sure you stick around for all three names. Hit that like button for a little bit of support. We would greatly appreciate it because we're not going to take a whole lot of time. We're getting right into the names, and the first one we're going to be talking about is going to be Stefon Diggs, now wide receiver, Buffalo Bills. I mean, right off the bat, Diggs in Buffalo seems kind of sexy, right? I mean, it sounds like he has a great chance to be a true top wide receiver, especially given the fact that he's hovering right around wide receiver 27 with an ADP right there in the 6th or 7th round. I mean, that's great value. Diggs is just a big play waiting to happen on every snap. But is he somewhat kind of overhyped right now in the media? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I mean, the guy, he's never played a full 16-game season. He's only exceeded 84 receptions in a year once in his career, and over the last 2 seasons combined, he's only broken a total of 6 tackles. Now, he finished 6th among all wide receivers in yards per reception with 17.9, and 3rd in yards per target with 12.1 last season in 2019. He also finished 5th among all NFL wide receivers in deep targets with 28 and finished 9th in completed air yards. They were looking for him deep down the field, but that's with Kirk Cousins at quarterback in Minnesota. Kirk is actually one of the better deep ball throwers in the NFL. In 2019, Cousins attempted 57 deep balls, which are considered 20-plus yards in the air, which was 17th among quarterbacks in the NFL. He finished 10th, however, among all quarterbacks by completing 40.4% of them. Now, how is that compared to Josh Allen in Buffalo? Allen threw the deep ball a whopping 72 times, 8th most in the NFL. However, he only completed 25% of them. That's 33rd among all eligible quarterbacks. That's kind of been his issue for a while, though, right? Deep ball accuracy. Constantly overthrowing with that big arm that he has. What about the target share? I mean, when it comes to the target share in Buffalo, it's not like it's going to be just the Stefon Diggs show, right? I mean, we still have John Brown and Cole Beasley there as well in that wide receiving group. The defense, yep, it's one of our favorites this year, and they should give the Bills plenty of opportunities to take second half leads, which could lead to them focusing a little bit more on the running game. What about the schedule? Well, I know the end of the season schedule is absolutely brutal with matchups against the Chargers, Niners, Steelers, Broncos, and Patriots. I really see Diggs as a weekly boom or bust dependent on a big play or a touchdown. With the weapons they already have in John Brown, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox at the tight end position, Devin Singletary in the running game, Diggs just may not be that consistent weekly play. Add that to the fact that we would really need to rely on Josh Allen drastically improving the deep ball. It only adds more risks. Now, I do believe that Josh Allen takes a step forward this year, but that doesn't mean it's all going to be because of STEFON Diggs. Diggs will open things up for this offense for sure, but I really see the ball being spread around a little bit more here in 2020. One of those good moves that's really going to help the team win more games, but may not be great for fantasy football purposes. I mean, when you look at the draft right there around a STEFON Diggs, you're going to see some names that we really like Terry McLaurin, maybe even a T.Y. Hilton, similar to that same area as Diggs. And those guys I see myself owning a lot more of here in 2020, just a little bit less risk in my opinion. They could see more volume, and that's what we're all about, is getting that volume. So for STEFON Diggs, I say he's kind of going to be one of those sexy cars that we probably don't need. He may not be the most reliable, and that's kind of what we're looking for right now, is that reliability, that safety. STEFON Diggs may be a little bit too much risk. Now, maybe you want to go heavy wide receiver, and STEFON Diggs is your wide receiver 3 or 4. Okay, I don't mind that as much because there's a little risk there, but if you're relying on him weekly to start the season, I'm going to be a little bit worried. Next guy up, we're talking about Michael Gallup, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboys. Oh, what could have been for Michael Gallup in 2020. I mean, this could have been an absolutely huge year for this kid. And then countless NFL teams allowed CeeDee Lamb to fall in the NFL draft right in the laps of the Dallas Cowboys. In just his second year, Michael Gallup had 113 targets in just 14 games played, finishing as wide receiver 22. This year, so far, he's sitting right around wide receiver 31, which isn't really bad value. I mean, he showed some flashes at times last year that he could be really special in that number 2 role in Dallas. However, he also showed flashes of having hands like Devin Funchess, leading the league with 11 dropped passes. 82% of his targets were deemed catchable, and it still led him to a catch rate of 58.9%. That's 72nd among all wide receivers in the NFL. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love the talent in Gallup, but the addition of CeeDee Lamb worries me, and this is why. The volume was there last year, right? I mean, we already talked about that, but you have to think that the volume doesn't go up here this year. More than likely, it's going to decrease. If he receives fewer targets and these drops don't go away, he could have more missed opportunities than anything. Now, the departures of Randall Cobb and Jason Witten, they open up right around 166 targets, but you have to assume that at least 50 of those or so go to 2020 tight end Blake Jarwin, which leaves right around 116 targets for Lamb, Cooper, and Gallup to consume, unless both Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard are more involved in the passing game this year as well. I really don't see Dallas throwing that much more here in 2020. I mean, they had 597 pass attempts in 2019, which is already 10th most in the NFL. There's just so many options there in Big D, so similar to the STEFON Diggs situation, we may see Michael Gallup being inconsistent from week to week. CeeDee Lamb is NFL ready. It's not like he's going to need a whole lot of time to develop as an NFL wide receiver. Kid is a stud. And if he takes away some of those big plays, some of those touchdowns, all of a sudden Michael Gallup falls. And he falls really far. Now, with all of that being said, I bet you're expecting me to say, hey, yeah, no, I'm not going to own any Michael Gallup in 2020. But really, it kind of depends. I'm not what you call an Amari Cooper fan by any means. It would not surprise me to see him just disappear at times. I would actually take a stab on Michael Gallup as long as he was at least my wide receiver 3, and I didn't have to count on him here this year. If CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper go down, all of a sudden, the ceiling for Michael Gallup on a weekly basis is astronomical. I mean, he may not be safe weekly, but if you can stash him on your bench as your wide receiver 3, maybe even your wide receiver 4 this year, he's not really a handcuff, but in a way, he kind of is. Because if anything happens to Amari or Lamb, Gallup is a huge, huge asset. I just don't want to draft him and have to rely on starting him week 1. He could be that reliable car. Right now, kind of trending towards the sexy car, but something to pay attention to, because if Amari or Lamb go down, Michael Gallup could end up being somebody who carries your team for a few weeks. Next guy up, this one kind of going to be a little bit surprising. It's going to be Jarvis Landry, wide receiver, Cleveland Browns. Jarvis has to be one of my favorite fantasy wide receivers in recent years. I mean, he just continually produces. He's finished inside the top 20 each of the last 5 years, and in those 5 years, he never saw less than 131 targets or had less than 81 receptions. He can make things happen after the catch. 419 yak yards in 2019 was 7th best in the NFL, and he can get open in the red zone. 12 red zone receptions, which made him 7th in the NFL. But there's a slight problem this year. He's recovering from a labral tear in his hip, which he just had surgery for in February. Now, according to our resident doctor, Dr. Ethan Turner, the injury itself has a great recovery rate, which is great. What's not great is the recovery time is right around 6 to 8 months. Being that he just had surgery in February, that means at best, he's good to go in August, right before the season. But it also leaves the window open for him to be out till like October, and that is a problem. They have Odell Beckham, and I get it. A lot of people hate OBJ for his diva-ness, but he should be back to full health and will require a fair amount of targets. They also brought in Austin Hooper, another pass-catching weapon at the tight end position. Head coach Kevin Stefanski, he's a run-heavy coach. They upgraded the offensive line this offseason because of it. They also kept David Njoku to go with Austin Hooper. Maybe they run more 12 personnel this year, and don't forget, they have one of the best RB duos in the NFL. Now, Jarvis may not only not be ready week 1, he may not be relied upon as much this year when he comes back either. And with all of these weapons, why would they rush him back to health? With all that being said, it's the Browns, right? Who really knows anything with them, right? Just when you think that you have the Browns figured out, poof, they go full Brown on you. Now, Jarvis is so reliant on that volume, it's really what's made him what he's been the past few years. I love Jarvis Landry, and every year he's someone that I really, really want on my team. However, with the info from our headliner doc and the additions this year, I may have to pass unless he falls a little bit later in the draft. His current ADP has him at wide receiver 30 in the 7th round, which isn't bad. If he falls any later than that, though, then yes, all of a sudden, he becomes an option for me. But he needs to be somebody that we watch here in the offseason and that we watch really, really closely. This is great ADP. And if he starts to, come out and show that he's 100% healthy, that he's going full practice, full participation in practices, that's going to be a little bit of a difference maker, right? If we can see him healthy before our fantasy football drafts, all of a sudden, he becomes a fantasy football steal that we need to draft. It's something that we need to pay attention to here this offseason. If Jarvis is healthy, you better believe it. I want him on my team here in 2020. Any questions about that health or just a big question mark, like we don't know what's going to happen? Unfortunately, I may have to pass on Jarvis here in 2020. So those are 3 wide receivers that we're getting a lot of questions about, and deservedly so. A lot of questions surrounding these guys, but we're going to continue to talk about almost every NFL player before the season starts. I think you've kind of noticed here over the past few weeks on the channel, we're trying to be different every show, right? We're not trying to replay any content to really throw the same things out over and over. We want to try to hit a goal of talking about almost every fantasy relevant player at least once throughout this entire offseason leading up to the season. So at least you have some type of information, some type of take on every player that you could possibly draft. That's what it's all about, is being the most prepared during your fantasy football draft. You saw the quick promo here before the show started. Our draft guide is out. It's available. It's flying off the virtual shelves, and people are absolutely loving it. We have people down in the comment section saying, hey, should I buy this draft guide? What do you guys have in it? And Headliner Nation themselves are answering those comments saying, man, you need to go get one. So we greatly appreciate that support. We look forward to talking with you guys more on every single player here this offseason. Maybe you have questions about somebody. By all means, throw them down below in the comment section. Myself, Kyle, another member of Headliner Nation, we're here to help you out and help you get another fantasy championship in 2020. So like I said, hopefully you have a great rest of your week. We appreciate the support. We'll talk to you later.